I often think about the cruelness of blanket self-help ideas that anybody can do anything. And the reason why I think about the cruelness is that there is a natural, what's called a heterogeneity across people in terms of their skill set. And that skill set involves a lot of different things. It's just not about capability as you might be thinking about, but there's lots of psychology that's involved. There's lots of endowment effects that are involved. There is a lot of, training effects that are involved. And I think about this cruelness all the time, that if you say anybody can do anything and they're not capable of it, uh, it puts them into situations where they shouldn't be there. And it puts them into situations um, where it is, almost harmful to the context that they're actually in as well. It's the challenge with this that I really struggle with is that, and I think we don't have it correct right now. I don't think the way that we treat with selection is not correct. Is that there is a lot of people that, if given the opportunities and the right training and all of the situations, that they will do well and they will shine if they were trained and sort of sharpened in the right way. But there's a ton of people that won't at the same time, and it's impossible. And maybe we'll get better at identifying some of these things, but it's impossible to often identify those. And there's not one particular trait. It's not an intelligence thing. It's often not a humbleness thing that I like to brag upon, because being humble, you might often be mistaken as, somebody that is just not that they're passive, right? Like they don't have anything that will push them forward. And I don't know what the right answer with any of these things. And you see it a lot in all sorts of different areas. Um, and it's difficult because there's flywheel effects. Well, I often talk about flywheel effects. So what is that? That's reinforcing, positive reinforcing dynamics that results in both the context getting better, which is attractive to other people, and then you get better and more competent people. But if the context is not right, the individuals are not right, you just can't get any flywheel going. And no matter what happens, there is, no matter how good the person actually is at the flywheel, that sort of context is going to harm them. So this is the challenge. It's just one big, as they would sort of say in my Canadian speak, my Northern Ontario speak, it's one big cluster F. The F, it means something, but it's basically you can't get anywhere. That it doesn't want to move, right? And that's what I often really think about, that selection, it's not about just simple intelligence. It's not about any particular traits or anything like that. And it makes it very, very difficult and extraordinarily frustrating if you're part of a situation like that, where you want to do better, but you don't have individuals that are at the skill level that you know that you want to sort of run with. Um, and it doesn't get any better because you can't identify those particular individuals. And it's extraordinarily frustrating for those of you who are in this situation. Um, it it happens a lot in all contexts, right? I often think about my own academic context in terms of, the academic programs and those kind of things, because it's very similar to what you'd see in other organizations, what happens in larger organizations too. And so it's not often anybody's fault, because it's impossible to identify who is capable and who's not. There's no single identifying trait, I think. I think we've been studying this kind of stuff for an extraordinarily long time. And yes, I think that we can get some things down. I think, humbleness, a willingness to train, willingness to learn. But those people don't jump out. Like all of those kind of traits, yes, you can select upon those. But people don't jump up and say, I am a humble person, or, and if they did say that, it sounds weird, right? Or they don't jump up and say that I'm willing to be trained, right? It's not something that is obvious at the get-go. You can't do surveys and things like that to identify those, because people lie all the time. They want to tell you what you want to hear. And then on the other side, if you're in a context that just can't get going, it's extraordinarily frustrating, right? You're trying, but you can't get anywhere. And then you get locked into a system, and then you get dynamics where your aspirations adjust downwards and you eventually give out. It's extraordinarily frustrating with all of this. I think, in my view, the only way that you can break through, and it's not like the way that you often think that, people might tell you, but I think it's like using available technologies. It's using some technologies that other people are afraid to use, right? And this is where a little bit of strategy, in the sense of doing things that are different, come in. But even then, it is a slow, painful grind. You can't buy your way into, a healthy, very competent culture. It's extraordinarily difficult to buy your way into that. I think that there is a lot of academic programs that thought that they could do that, but it doesn't work out, right? It's always more challenging than you think. It's not a money problem often. And we look at, there's a famous book called Moneyball by Michael Lewis that actually looked at that. And, despite the fact that many people throw tons of money at their baseball teams, many owners throw tons of money at their baseball teams, they still don't perform where they should be, given the amount of money that they're spending on things. So what is there to do? I think using available technologies smartly somehow. The problem is what is smart? I don't know what smartly is. I think it's a lot more trickier than you think. But it requires an awful lot of gumption, awful lot of fortitude for a very long time, knowing that it's a losing battle. This is the thing that's extraordinarily challenging, is that you have to get a bunch of people together that know it's a losing battle, that easily identify that's a losing battle and they shouldn't be doing it, and yet they build the culture anyways, regardless of what that actually is. So I think it's difficult, right? Selection is impossible. Building a culture is impossible. And yet you still try, right? You still keep going, putting one foot next in front of the other, and hopefully something actually happens at the end of it. I wish I had answers to anybody that was thinking about, how they can build a stronger, more competent workforce. But I don't think that there is an easy answer with any of it other than just trying and trying and trying. And the problem is that there is a lot of people that are trying and trying and trying. So there's often very difficult to identify a particular edge. I think the only thing that you could do is keep going, use available technology smartly, but whatever the hell that is, and just take steps forward every day. And that's it. Unfortunately, identifying competent individuals is next to impossible. Building a flywheel that has competent individuals coming to you all the time is next to impossible. There's not an easy answer to any of this other than just get back up and try again every day and know that it's a losing battle, but you do it anyways. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.